of the top representatives that we have in the U.S. Congress said is as strong an advocate for the military-industrial complex is Adam Schiff out in Southern California. Unfortunately, he is considered a darling of the establishment left, or the establishment Democrats, I should say, to be more specific about that. You know, he was very much a heavy-duty advocate for, you know, Russiagate, and a lot of people loved him. Being
Is
on
he a
TV
war
all the
hawk?
time. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Nice.
He's Mr. You know, Raytheon.
So he's like Debbie
Wasserman
over
Schultz
there.
West.
Oh, that's nice.
I would say, yeah, he's probably the equivalent. The only thing is that I don't think he's as much of a jerk. But what do I know? I don't know him personally. Maybe a girl.
Does he play the anti-Semitism card as much?
I don't think so. Well, I could be wrong, but maybe a girl who's coming on is going to be able to share with us all the wonderful things that Mr. Schiff. I'm not making any jokes about his name. I'm just not doing it. It's not, you know, because I don't need anybody giving us grief.
Okay, so guys, we have a candidate coming on. This is really cool. So speaking of Congressman Schiff, we are bringing on the person who is challenging him, the non-corporate, the progressive person, the person that's, you know, our people.
No corporate special interest money.
And that's maybe a girl. And hi.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. It's great to meet you. I saw you. I can't remember what I saw you on something. Was it Katie Halper? Was it Katie?
Yeah, it was with Katie Halper just a couple of weeks ago.
And I'm so like, we have to get her to come on. We have to, because I thought you were just so smart, and I liked that you were just, you know, I just liked what you had to say. So talk a little bit about your congressional district. What it looks like what your demographics are, you know, a little bit about where it is.
California District 20.
Wait, you're breaking up.
Let's hope it's temporary.
Los Angeles. It is it goes from West Hollywood through Hollywood, Silver Lake, Echo Park. And that's kind of the more progressive part of it. And then it goes into the Hollywood Hills. It goes into
So maybe he's got a little connection problem.
You're having, I think you're having a connection issue.
Moderate to conservative areas. So it is a very quite diverse district.
Adam Schiff has been the representative maybe in this district for, I believe, 20 years or something close to it at this point.
About 20 years at this point. And you know, for me, first of all, let me just say I am very much for congressional term limits. That goes for both the U.S. House and for the Senate. In my personal opinion, I think that the U.S. House, being that it's 2-year terms, should be limited to 4 terms, which is 8 years. I think that Senate terms should be limited to 2 terms, since they're 6 years. And especially when you have somebody who is just kind of thriving off of the status quo. You know, one of the questions that I ask a lot of the people who I speak with, who obviously know who Adam Schiff is, might not know who I am, and might be blindly, you know, following and supporting Adam Schiff because they think he's a progressive, but he is a faux progressive. And one of the questions that I love to ask is, you know, can you tell me why you're supporting this candidate? What has this candidate done for you specifically? What has this candidate done for the district? What has this candidate done for the nation? And, you know, Adam Schiff, he was in office for a while before he kind of shot to fame once the Trump administration rolled through. And, you know, he received a lot of notoriety and a lot of fame when he started becoming involved in the Mueller reports, and then subsequently the impeachment efforts. And, you know, one of the things that really bothers me, because there's many, is just his much of his rhetoric is just involved around Trump. It's just Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that. And I kind of thought to myself, I was like, well, what is Adam Schiff going to talk about now that Trump is out of office? But he is still talking about Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that.
Oh my God. He's still on that. He's still like, he just can't. So he's got nothing else to offer, apparently.
Essentially, yeah.
Maybe would you say that your district is very similar to the district that Nina Turner just ran to represent, where basically it's a significant working class, more progressive type of area, and then you have the wealthy suburbs, which is basically the safe haven, if you will, that Representative Schiff has been basically leaning on the vote for the past 2 decades. Is it basically that type of a district?
It is and it isn't. There are definitely different districts entirely because it's Hollywood, and you find every kind of person in Hollywood. But
Sure.
it is kind of what you just explained, where there are a lot of wealthy people, a lot of wealthy homeowners, and then you have a lot of working class people, and then you have everybody in between. But then you also have this Hollywood influence. You know, everyone thinks that Hollywood is this glamorous place when Hollywood is actually, it's unfortunately at this point it's a little bit of a shithole. And
Yeah.
you know, it's you know, I wouldn't consider Hollywood to be the epicenter of the district. It is in a sense of Los Angeles, but at the same time it's, you know, that's sort of, you know, marketed Los Angeles, marketed Hollywood. But for the people that actually live here, it's such a variety of people. You have a lot of working class folks, you have a lot of immigrants, you have a lot of folks that are perhaps in the middle class, and then you have these wealthy people that live in the hills, these homeowners. And that's what has created a lot of there's been a lot of tensions here, not just in Hollywood, not just in my district, but in Los Angeles in general, especially as it pertains to housing and figuring out how to get people into housing, because we have a huge homelessness problem. And I hate even calling it the homelessness problem, because you know, it's not that the folks who are unhoused are the problem. The folks who are unhoused are a symptom of this overall problem that we have here in Los Angeles, that we have in LA County, that we have in California, and that we're seeing all across the nation, which is people are struggling to afford housing. People are struggling to afford rents. And, you know, I've lived in the same spot. I've been renting in the same place in LA for the past 8 years. And let me tell you, my rent has gone up every single year. Have my wages gone up? No. And that is the same for everybody else that's living, again, in the district, in the city, the county, and so forth.
So talk a little bit about your background and what got you interested in running, like where you know, where you're coming at this from. I mean, usually people have a, you know, whatever their mission is. Obviously, you just said housing, and we think that's a huge thing. That's a big thing here as well. But talk a little bit about your background so people get an idea of like who you are, and then yeah, we want to platform promote.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 1986. That's where I lived with most of my family lived there. My immediate family, we moved to Chicago when I was 9 years old. I was devastated, hated to leave my family, but ultimately, I was happier to have been raised and grow up and come of age in Chicago because it's a little bit more progressive, a little bit more accepting of queer people. I appreciate you using my appropriate pronouns. I am a trans non-binary person. My pronouns are she, her, and they, them. And, you know, that's something that, you know, I don't want to shit talk Pittsburgh or any place, but there are certain places where some people will get it a little bit more, and there are some places where they won't. And so I was happy to grow up in Chicago. I moved to Los Angeles in 2014, and I love this city. I absolutely love LA, and LA is one of those places where it very much works for some people. It very much doesn't work for others. And if you kind of find your place, your niche, you're good to go. But it's welcoming in general, but in terms of being able to succeed in this city, depending on what you want to do, it's a little bit up in the air. And, you know, I've always had an interest in politics and civics and wanting to make the world a better place. And I didn't really seriously consider getting into politics until actually right when Trump was elected. And so I'm a drag queen. That's, you know, that's what I do.
Can I tell you, you're really, really pretty.
Thank
Like
you.
you're so pretty. Is that wrong? And
Nope.
and I saw your and put the link to her webpage up, because when I saw you on Katie, I went and looked at it, and I'm like, you're so pretty. All right, sorry, continue.
What's the
I
website?
appreciate that. Thank you. And you know,
Yeah, what's your website?
it's maebeagirlforcongress.org,
Okay.
Maebeagirl for Congress.
Okay.
So I started doing drag when I moved to Los Angeles. I've always been a performer. I've always been an entertainer. I feel like that's part of how I connect with people. I'm an artist, and I have a creative void that I always have to fill. And I started doing drag in 2015, and then 2016 rolls around, and we have this big election. Everyone thinks that Hillary is a shoo-in, and all of a sudden we've got Trump. And I started doing political drag in early 2017, right when he was inaugurated. And what I mean by political drag is I was doing a lot of commentary and critique on the administration through my drag performances. So it was, you know, a lot of parody. It was a lot of satire, but it was also trying to get a message across to people that might not necessarily be paying attention.
So is this online? Like you were doing this online?
You know, I was doing this at different shows around town. I have a home bar that I perform at here in Los Angeles. We're celebrating our 7-year anniversary later this month. We do a show every Monday. And so I started doing a lot of political cosplay. And I cosplayed Kellyanne Conway, Melania Trump, Betsy DeVos. And, you know, I was doing this to, you know, kind of poke fun at them, but also for people in the audience to kind of realize what was going on. So I would use sound bites from these people talking about real life issues. And I started doing it a few times. And then I started realizing that some people didn't even know who these folks were. And I'm thinking, you don't know who the first lady of the United States is when it's, you know, the Trump administration. That's dangerous to be, you know, to not have information. So I kept doing this more and more, mostly because I wanted to inform people. I wanted to be entertaining. I wanted to put on a show, but I also wanted people to become aware of the situation that we were in. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to run for a local position here in Los Angeles. And in early 2019, I ran for the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council. So in LA, we have essentially 3 levels of government. We have 1 mayor, we have 15 city council districts, and then we have 99 neighborhood council districts. And the neighborhood councils, in my opinion, are so important because it's the most grassroots level of government. It's literally people that live in your neighborhood. It is your neighbors. And we act as an advisory body to city council. So whenever city council is voting on any sort of legislation, we put out a community impact statement saying, we are for this, we are against this, this is what the community believes. And City Hall is supposed to listen to us. You know, after being in this now for 3 years, I just recently got reelected to my position a couple of months ago. I've realized that they don't really listen to us. They kind of just go based off of what they want to do. They go off of what their donors are looking for and what a lot of the NIMBYs are looking for in this city. I've discovered that a lot of NIMBYs have a lot more influence in Los Angeles than renters, when renters actually outnumber homeowners. And again, it's sort of class warfare here in Los Angeles.
It's class warfare everywhere.
Yeah, and they definitely want to turn that into a serfs class